am going to work with a different texture today. I'm going to use string gel, and just got this from Amazon actually. I'm just ordering a few items from there to see what I think about ordering items from Amazon versus Blick. And so far so good. So this is a small canvas board that I'm going to do just so I can show you fully on so you can see the whole thing. And you can pour string gel. This is just sort of a real viscous type of texture, and it's kind of unique because it gives you sort of a unique I think drippy sort of layered texture. You can do this sort of thing back and forth, and this will of course dry just like this, so your texture is what you get. And then you can also let it kind of run a bit down so it kind of gets a little drippy. I did a few landscapes years ago with this, and I hadn't used it in a while, and I was always meaning to order some more, and I didn't, and finally I did, and so now I'm going to redo those because they were pretty cool. I liked them a lot. And instead of really manipulating this, I just kind of let it, do its thing. You can add a little bit of water just to make it a little more runny, like that, just play with it. Just kind of let it take a few minutes and drip down, and then we'll come back and we'll put some color on that. Hello there, and welcome back to my art table and to the next segment of this string gel painting. This has fully dried for a few days. I don't know if you can see that texture on there, but you'll see it once we start putting the color down. So the colors I'm going to use today that I've put in my palette are a light blue, and you can mix this yourself or you can just buy light blue. This is a parchment or an unbleached titanium white. Different brands call it different things. It's sort of a beigey white. Of course, titanium white. And I'm using a little bit of bronze, but you can use taupe here as well. Anything that's sort of a cool light brown. Of course, my spray bottle and some brushes. The ones I'm using are flat brushes, and I'm going to blend with a mop brush. You can also use one of your utility blending brushes. First thing I'm going to do is a couple of spritzes on my canvas. And my brush. I am going to lay down my background on this, which is a little bit of bronze, a little bit of the unbleached titanium, and a little bit of the titanium white. Mix that up. I want this to have a little more depth. So since this is a small painting, I'm working with a very small palette here. And what this is going to do is I'm going to lay this sort of down in the background here. This is going to be sort of a soft landscapey type abstract. And I just want to get a little depth built up back here. And then I'm going to put a little into my background here and here, only because I want that little bit of reed of color to come through. Just going to blend that real quick. And of course, if I'm doing a higher end canvas, I'm going to take time. I'm going to do layers. I'm going to do glazes. This is just showing you the basic techniques of doing this type of painting. I wouldn't suggest, you know, laying all your colors down in one fell swoop, so to speak. I know some artists do that and are successful with it. I prefer to lay down layers and sort of build it, as you know if you've watched any of my videos. Okay, so that's good for now. And you can start to see some of that string gel texture emerge as we lay the color on it. That's kind of the cool thing with texture. It kind of shows up after you put your color on it. So if you can see that, that's what it looks like. I'm going to go over this with the blow dry real quick and do a quick dry, and then come back and do some more color. All right, we're back. I gave that a quick dry. You can kind of see where we're at. Always have a piece of paper towel around just to wipe your brush, blot things, whatever. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put down a little bit of my blue. And I would always suggest, if you're working with a palette, do a little mixing. You know, don't lay stuff down just 100% color. It's more sophisticated. You get a more sophisticated color if you mix, I find. You know, some artists like to paint right out of the tube, and you'll see that I do that sometimes, and then I do the mixing on the actual canvas. If you're not quite sure where you're at with things, always mix on your palette. A little more blue here, a little white. Always remember, acrylics will dry a little darker than what you've painted. So once it dries, it's going to be a little bit darker than what you thought you laid down. Sometimes that can be a problem. You think you have a beautiful painting, you come back the next day, it's dry, and you think, oh boy, that's a little darker and muddier than what I had anticipated. So you always want to lay down a little bit of white or a little bit of lightness. You can always darken and add depth. It's really hard to lighten colors. You can do it. It can be done. I've had to do it many times. But it's so much easier to go back in and add depth or add more layers. And I know I've said that before, but I really can't express it enough, because I have done that. It is not fun to try to lighten without ruining. Again, this is a pretty quick little painting. I would add glazes and layers and all that sort of thing if I was doing this on a larger high-end canvas. Not to say that this isn't a good painting. I'm just saying with a larger canvas, I really like to draw out elements. You know, if somebody's paying good money, I really want to spend the time and make it a really lasting painting that, you know, has lots of pretty luminance and transparencies and levels to it. So I'm laying down the light blue. I'm kind of mixing on my palette to get just a few different tones, but basically it's just kind of a light creamy blue. Pulling this up, you can add a little more blue, a little more white. And I'm liking the way that this is kind of laying down. I'm moving a little bit of the blue now and then just to bring out that underneath texture. You don't want it to be one note, and I think that's one thing. As you become a more skilled artist, you realize how to create things that are more elegant than just sort of a one-note painting where you just lay down a bunch of paint and kind of go over the canvas, and it all looks like one layer, creating things that are a little more layered, a little more sophisticated. Picking up a little more white here. And I'm going to work upwards on this painting after I lay down my background. Meaning I'm working from the bottom to the top. I will probably go over this bottom area a little more when it dries a bit. I'm introducing some more of my unbleached up here at the top. I want a little more of a creamy look up here. This painting is beautiful when done in glazed layers. It comes out so pretty. And again, I'm just showing you kind of what you can accomplish with this texture and colors if you choose to use them. This is a very sort of beachy, calming, coastal type painting. I guess I do a lot of these because I live in the desert, and although I really do enjoy components of the desert, it's nice to have that sort of cool, watery feel around me, especially at certain times of the year when it's really hot here. I always like to kind of escape to water areas or mountain areas, so I tend to bring those elements into my art. And I tend to get a lot of people that have actual beach houses, coastal homes, mountain homes, things like that. Tend to get people that, collectors that like that type of art. Bring a little of this down. And again, this is, subjective. You do your thing, whatever you feel is working for you, versus trying to copy exactly. If you don't like these colors, mix something else up. And there we have a good layer. I'm going to build on this a little bit once it dries a bit. And again, once your paints start to dry and become a little bit tacky, don't get impatient. Call it a day on that one, put it aside, work on something else, or move on in your day and come back. You're going to be so much happier with your final product, your final artwork, than trying to just get it all done in one sitting, which can be tempting, but it can really, once your paint starts getting a bit tacky, you start to lift paint, and you can go over an area that you really liked and you think, oh, I'll just quickly go over something, drop a little more paint in, and you find out, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have waited, and I knew better, and I did it anyway. So that's where I'm at now. I'm going to let it sit, and we'll come back in a few. Okay, this has dried a bit, and you can kind of see where we're at. I have put on my palette a little bronze, added a little water, just mixed it up with kind of what was there. So it's a little bit milky on my flat brush. And I'm going to lay that down right in this area. I covered up the background a little more than I thought I would, so I'm going to go ahead and just put this on top. And then quickly take my blending brush, in this case I'm using a mop, and I'm going to blend over this so I have some real pretty softness. I'm going to put some, this is not fully dry overnight, so I'm going to put water on my actual brush, or just a tiny bit. Don't want to spray my canvas because I don't want to leave water spots and break through the paint. But if you just put a little bit of water on your brush, you can generally get a little bit of dampness to blend and move the paint around. And you have to work quickly, of course. Acrylics love to dry quickly. A little more water. And essentially I'm moving this around, I'm softening it, I'm removing some bits of the color. I'm blending and kind of creating that final look of layered, since we have all the different layers and colors on here. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to put down a little more of my parchment up here, blend that in. And at this point, it becomes a finesse. You know, whatever you see on your canvas that you like, you don't like, those are the areas you work. No two paintings are exactly alike, and nor should they be, because you're creating original art. So yours is going to look a little different than mine. If I was to recreate this on a large scale as a commission, it would look a little different. It would have the exact same colors, the same, you know, basic idea, but you're not going to get exactly the same painting laid down twice. You're just not. You're not going to get the same texture format and the same exact layering. Sometimes when I work on commissions, people don't understand why a painting doesn't look exactly like the original if I recreate it, and that is why. It's just virtually impossible. That's why they make prints. Okay, so that's essentially where I'm going with this painting. Finesse, 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 and then a nice coat of glaze to give it a pretty sheen. Because I didn't use glazes all along, it looks a little dry, and that's part of the reason I do like to work with glazes, is because it will create a beautiful, lustrous final finish, which you can put glazes and varnish on, and I suggest you do. But the reason that I like to work like with glazes at the end, and some people have asked me, do I use it in lieu of a varnish or in addition or whatever, and the answer is really, sometimes if I'm working on a canvas where I didn't use a lot of mediums during the process, acrylics can dry a little dry and chalky depending on their grade, and that's why I like to put a final coat of glaze on to make it really lustrous, you know, and then of course if I'm going to varnish it or whatever. All right, so I'm just laying down bits of blue here, blending those in on top, and that's a way that you can get a multi-layered painting by just sort of, you know, not working with the glazed technique and waiting for that to dry, but drying each layer quickly, coming back and lightly laying down more color. All right, so that's essentially where we are right now. I'm going to finesse this a bit more, glaze it, and you'll see the final product. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed it, thumbs up, like it, subscribe to my channel. Lets me know that I should be doing more of these. And also, if you're an art lover, I invite you to go to my website at facetimeart.com and sign up. I send out free prints every month and some other goodies. And if you're a creator and you want more, you can join my creators group. And That is at 101artists.com. And you can join both if you like. That'd be great. All right, thanks so much for watching.